Today is going to be a fun one together. Just a couple quick things. If you don't know kind of what series we've been in, then we've been kind of doing our little overview each week. But what are parables? These are stories that we have seen Jesus use all throughout his teaching, but also we have seen a lot of them in the Old Testament too. We actually haven't done any Old Testament ones yet. We might do a couple in September. But why do we study them? Why do we use them? I've always bring up kind of a couple different versions of what parables look like to us. I've mentioned Bluey episodes. I've mentioned Disney movies, all kinds of different things. Yeah, Kerrigan is like the fan of all of those. The parables for a baby are Bluey, and actually for the parents too. But I just want to encourage you, as you see storytelling in your life, what makes it impactful? We always ask that question. What makes it something that moves you? What kind of stories move you? What kind of film? What kind of art? What kind of poetry? Whatever that might be. What moves you? And why does Jesus choose to use this kind of story? These ones come alongside the truth. They explain the truth. They are things that are not necessarily true stories that really happen to real people, but they are easily conceptualized stories, fictional generally, that represent a truth that Jesus is trying to teach, put into ways and terms that we might understand. They are ones, we always say this, not that we just read, but ones that read us, stories that read us. And if you can imagine a couple stories that you're used to that read you, those are the ones that you really want to attach yourself to and kind of dissect why. What kind of truth am I learning today? Jesus really, the one we're going to be talking about today is really moving. So this is Parable of the Talents. And again, you may or may not be used to this. And or maybe you've heard this story before, but we're going to go over it. If you have your Bibles and you want to read, it's in Matthew 25, verses 14 through 29. If not, it is going to be up here on the screen. I do encourage you, if you want, we have free to take note cards over here that you can just write on. I'm looking for them right now. Are they over there? Are we out? Are they? Well, anyways, anything that you want to write on, take notes in your Bibles, wherever they might be, but please write this stuff down. I think it's really helpful. But before we read the passage today, let me just have a word of prayer with us. Dear Jesus, would you open up our ears to hear, our eyes to see, our hearts to understand, our brains, Lord, to listen, that we might be moved by your word today, that we would be moved in discussion with each other today, that we would not just give off casual smiles and general week-to-week stuff, but we would let this punch us in the gut, pierce us in the heart, Lord, and move us to change and to seek you more and more. In your name we pray. Amen. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and read it, and I'll read it for us. Parable of the Talents. So Jesus is actually, as we get into this, there's three kind of predictive parables that Jesus is doing here at the end of Matthew. He's kind of talking about what the kingdom of heaven will be like, and how, and so this specific time is what it will be like when Jesus returns, when the suddenness of that happens. These are considered three parables that explain the suddenness of Christ's return, how we don't get to know when that happens, but also how he shows up in our life, and even how life and death happen so quickly. So these kind of talking about what it will be like when the Son of Man will return. So we sing in verse 14, "For it will be like a man going on a journey, who called his servants and entrusted to them his property. To one he gave 5 talents, to another 2." And again, talent is a form, we'll talk about this. It's kind of a form of currency in this place, a very expensive form of currency, but I'll detail that in a little bit. "To another he gave 2, to another 1, to each according to his ability. Then he went away. He who had received the 5 talents went at once and traded with them, and he made 5 talents more. So also he who had the 2 made 2 talents more. But he who had received the 1 talent went and dug in the ground and hid his master's money. Now after a long time the master of the servants came and settled accounts with them. And he who had received the 5 talents came forward, bringing 5 talents more, saying, 'Master, you delivered to me 5 talents. Here, I have made 5 talents more.' His master said to him, 'Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a little. I will set you over much. Enter the joy of your master.' And he also went, who had the 2 talents, came forward, saying, 'Master, you delivered to me the 2 talents. Here, I have made 2 talents more.' His master said to him, 'Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a little. I will set you over much. Enter into the joy of your master.' He also who had received the 1 talent came forward, saying, 'Master, I knew you to be a hard man, reaping where you did not sow and gathering where you scattered no seed. So I was afraid, and I went and I hid your talent in the ground. Here, you have what is yours.' 26. But his master answered him, "You wicked and slothful servant." Slothful, what an incredible. Slothful servant. "You knew that I reap where I have not sown and gather where I scattered no seed? Then you ought to have invested my money with the bankers, and at my coming I should have received what was my own with interest, at least," right? "So take the talent from him and give it to the one who has the 10 talents. For to everyone who has will more be given, and he will have in abundance. But from the one who has not, even what he has will be taken away. And cast the worthless servant into the outer darkness. In that place there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth." Okay. So that's where our reading kind of takes off. Ooh, kind of dark there at the end, right? But that's kind of how it's supposed to hit us. All right, a couple things. Let's define our terms. So a talent is considered this. So I had to kind of do a little bit of deep research on the term talent. I'm like, does this play on words? Like, how does that fit into English? Do we have this thing where talent kind of means money, but talent also means like ability and skill? Well, in this direct translation, it does not mean your gifting or your abilities when he was speaking of it, but it meant literally means bag of silver, and usually a silver weighing about 75 pounds of silver, which some would say, I've looked and I did kind of different stuff I saw, but it was 1 year wages or 20-year wages. So depending on your wages, I suppose it would vary, but it's a considerable amount of money. And so to be given that much money as an investment, right, to go and make more on, that would be a lot. And so that was seen as talent. Although I did look into, it actually means 6,000 drachmas, which was the currency at the time, 75 pounds of silver. It comes from the Greek word talenton, which means a unit of weight, and specifically when weighing money. And it was kind of used when they had scales, they would measure the money at the money tables. So then our word for talent is derivative of this Greek word talenton, which came through Middle English and everything. And eventually, because of the use of this parable, the word talent found its way into being into the vernacular. So I was literally looking up, I'm like, is that true? Because of how commonplace this parable was throughout history in Middle English and in France and sort of the Latin-based Roman occupied areas, this word came to prominence to end up meaning thing you have to offer, right? Ability, talent, as we understand the word. And so it actually, this is a pretty famous parable. It's kind of helped determine a big word for us, which just so happens to also be an incredible way of looking at this parable. That it means your talent, not just your money, right? But your ability. Where are you using that? How are you investing that? So we'll kind of talk about that. But just so you know, it's a pretty cool little historical thing I got to discover while doing this. So that's one of our terms. This is, as I was saying earlier, one of the parables to warn us that the suddenness of Jesus is coming. And it's supposed to be unseen, right? This master goes off for a while, and then they don't know when he's going to come back. So you need to be diligent with what you're doing when it's happening. And then when you want to be caught in the act of doing the right thing, right? That's what a servant would want from his master. Is like, if you've ever been, I don't know, how many of you have been on the job, right? And maybe it's a job you're either learning still, or you don't know what's going on, or maybe, and you want to make sure when your boss walks by, you're doing the job. Like, at least right then you know what you're doing. At least you look like you know what you're doing. It's like all the jobs I've done. Like, I can really act like I know what I'm doing. But do I know what I'm doing? No. But yeah, that's the idea. It's like some of the servants want to just be seen like they know what they're doing. There's a couple other parables that refer to that. This one is, you need to prove that you have done the work, and the fruit of your labor will be evident based on the return, right? It's kind of this pretty capitalistic idea. And there are some similarities. We can apply a very modern economic term like capitalism to it, but it's the idea in being faithful in what is given and in having that go and make fruit in and of itself. And there is a lot of that similarity to be pointed to being a believer, following Jesus, having fruit in your life, not letting a seed go and just be one. What's been invested in you is not just what's going to come back from you, but you're going to provide fruit and many more times that. And that is a very noble quality in Christianity that we need to keep an eye on. Okay, a couple other things. These are the questions I want you to be thinking about during this parable. Okay, this is what we'll talk about at the end, but really let this hit you. And just go incredibly personal with this question, okay? Don't worry about the people next to you. Don't worry about me. Don't worry about anybody else. Ask yourself this. What has the Lord given me. We are just singing, it's your breath in our lungs. It's your life in our veins. Redemption from sin. The friends, the food, the clothes on my back. Approaching Jesus, Christianity, all of this needs to be based upon thank you, right? Christian living doesn't make sense unless it begins with, I'm indebted and I need you, Jesus. It has to begin with that. It can't be, all right, Jesus, you come in, you come play second string, I'll do my thing. When I'm tired, I'll take you, right? So this question needs to humble us. What has the Lord given me? What am I a steward of? And this is another term I wanted to look into. I was listening to an R.C. Sproul sermon on this, and he talked about the term steward. So the term in Greek, oikonomia is where we get the term economy from. Okay? And it comes, and oikonomia means literally house, like house rule. House, how you set your house up. And that's where this term economy comes from in Greek, which then eventually brought us to the term, and it translates into a couple different places, to stewardship. And so when we think of what a steward is, it is a house rule keeper, a house setting up of the house inside the house. And so economy would be referring to getting the house set up in our government, in our country, or whatever it might be. But it is the idea of being a steward. And a steward is one that does not own, but is making use of someone else's. Usually the one who set up the house was someone, like we can see in Genesis when Joseph is set up in Potiphar's house, or Joseph is set up in Pharaoh's house in the Old Testament. He's not the leader, but he is the one who is delegating what's going on in the house. We are to be stewards of what we have been given. So if you've been given life, if you've been given certain abilities, if you've been given a brain that is really good at one thing and maybe really bad at another thing, if you've been given opportunities, if you've been given whatever that might be, how are you stewarding that? And that's a mature question that we all need to grapple with, okay? Because all of us have something. We might have 5 talents, we might have 1 talent, we might have 17 talents, whatever that might be. It doesn't matter how many or few those are. It is what have you been given, right? And what are you doing with it? We saw that the guy with 2 and the guy with 5 got the same response from God. That they were fruitful with what they were given. Well done, my good and faithful servant. And so again, we need to make sure we're not comparing ourselves to other people's talents or other people's money or whatever it might be. But we're asking these questions. What has the Lord given me? And what am I a steward of? And how can I do that? So this is where household dispensation is where that term comes from. So again, it's about being fruitful in what God gives us. It's far more important than anything secular, by the way. You can have an incredibly successful, monetary, famous life in this life. You can be a professional athlete. You can be a Wall Street billionaire. You can own a company that does really, really well. You can even help people. But if it is not based on Jesus, it is merely a passing thing. It is not eternal. And it's not being faithful with what God has given you in a way that God has commanded you to be faithful. We know that obedience is what God is seeking, not riches from us, not making sure we experience life to the fullest, but obedience to where he's called us. Why? Because serving Jesus is not something you're going to be monetarily, experientially, reputationally rewarded for in this life. It's just not, and you shouldn't want that, because in that you'll get your own reward, right? In this, we store up treasure in heaven, and how Jesus says it. Being fruitful in what God gives us is way more important than being fruitful in the secular things. Okay, so a couple questions. These are questions that we ask in response to this, and sometimes when we're like the guy with the one that gets banished, we ask these questions. If only I was given more, how can I do anything with what God has given me, right? Like, if only I was, talented like that guy over there, or if I had the life this lady has over here, then I could do something, Jesus. But how can you expect me to do anything with the things that I have? How can you expect me to go and do something in the situation that I'm in? I'm just a one person. I just have to do this my way. Surely you understand, right? That's kind of what does he say? I know you are a hard man. I know you to be a hard man reaping. And then he kind of points at God. And he's like, you reap what you don't sow. We're the ones sowing it. You reap what you don't sow. And you take the seeds where you didn't scatter them. He kind of has this defensive, like immature, right, positioning towards God. I know you're a hard guy, so I didn't want to disappoint you. So how can I do anything? How could you possibly expect anything out of me? That's kind of the question that we ask. How can God expect? Sure, other people, they'll do it. Maybe the pastor up there, he'll preach the word. But no, not me. I don't need to do that. That's up for other people to do. Here's the truth. Every Christian is in ministry. It does not matter if you are up here preaching or singing or over there at the door greeting or down the street screaming something at somebody. Like, your ministry is your character primarily, and who you are and how you love and treat people. You may not have the gift of I love this. This is something Sproul said in his sermon too. You may not have the gift of evangelism, but you are responsible for making sure evangelism happens. You may not have the gift of evangelism. You may not be the guy that wants to go have the conversation. But dang it, you are responsible for making it happen somehow. Being a part of it, part of the machine somewhere. At Harbor, we get to have all kinds of, we're always looking for ways for all of you guys to get involved with the things that we do here. Service, helping out with we have lots of people help out with watching the door, setting up, tear down, clean up, helping out with the band, helping out walking down the street. And there's so many ways that you can get involved if you want to. We're very blessed when it comes to people wanting to do that. But man, all of it goes into making this happen. And that is, I think we're a blessed ministry for that. That you guys are helping. Again, you may not have to be the person that's up here speaking. And maybe you do it better than I do, and I would be cool with that. But the expectation would be that you're helping make it happen no matter what you're doing. Okay, so this question is kind of a lack of faith one, where it's, I can't possibly do anything with what I've been given. No, don't believe that. That's a lie. Number 2, what I'm doing now is important. Can't God wait until I'm older for me to be fruitful? That's a dangerous question, right? Yeah, God. I will when I'm older and more mature, or when I'm on my deathbed, or when I'm more bored, when I'm less busy, I'll be sure to do what God wants me to do. When I've got more things figured out, I'll be sure to do what God wants me to do. When I have a family someday, I'll be sure to teach them the Bible. I'll get serious about church when I need to get up in the morning with kids. What I'm doing now, though, God will understand. This is important. This is what I want to do. This is my thing. And God will fit in the way I want him to, but not the other way around. No, I'm calling the shots. And I'm a Christian and I believe in all that. Sure, that's fine, yeah. But ultimately, this is what I want to do, and God, you will have to wait. That is one of the questions that we ask. That is one of the ways that this guy responded. Again, kind of throwing, and maybe this was laziness from him, or maybe it was, I don't want to be fruitful with what God has given me. I would like to reap the own things for myself. Maybe he's jealous. He's like, you don't even get out here and plant, dude. Why would I give you back this? Do you see how bitter that spirit can be? And it's kind of rooted in insecurity in some way. Why did he give me 1? Why couldn't I have gotten 5? I could have done something with 5. Why'd you give me 1? I'm going to bury this thing, man. You're not too busy. You're not too young. You're not too old. You miss out if you don't ask God, how can I join in with what you are doing right now? Right now, right now. So ask God, hey, I love the book Experiencing God. We actually read that in preparation for starting Harbor 2 years ago. And it's this idea of stop trying to tell God to join in with what you're doing. Ask God to show you what he's doing and ask to join in there. God, show me what you're up to. Please use me. I'm good at this. I'm bad at this. Can you use it? I have this job. That's great. Can I use that as a ministry? I don't have much money. Can I give some of this, or can I give my time, or can I give my talent? Are there people you're calling me to? Number 3, I thought, this is a question, this is kind of what he is asking. I thought you'd be mad if I got it wrong. Surely you understand this, don't you? I'm so afraid to be wrong in using the things that you've given me that I'm just not going to use them. It's better off me giving you back what you entrusted to me instead of wasting it. God, I don't want to waste it. No. Let me think of it this way. If you were to give money to a charity, right? Saying we're going to feed people that don't have food. Okay, we'll just call it that. We're going to feed people that need the food. I'm going to give money. I'm going to give you $50. We're going to try to get some meals to some people. And then you come back in 6 months and they're like, yeah, we decided we're just going to hold on to that money in case we ever need it. We didn't actually feed anybody with it. You know what I mean? You're going to be like, what the heck? Like, you told me that that money was not given to be held on to. That money was given to be used. Kind of like when you give to a ministry, it's money that you don't just hoard. It needs to be used in the ministry that's going on. In the same way, he didn't just give this guy money. He was like, go and be fruitful with it. When God looks at us and gives us abilities and talents, when he endows you with things in life, when he gives you experiences, when he gives you suffering, when you have loss in your life, when you have things that have happened to you, those are gifts. It's hard to see it that way when you're in it. I get it. When you're in the midst of the stuff going on, I get it. But these are gifts from God. How will you use them? If your heart is broken, if it is the best day of your life, these are gifts. I'd say one of the best things I've been through in life is having my heart broken. It seasoned me for loving someone well in the future. To have loss, to have experienced anxiety in my life, when I've suffered crippling anxiety, has empowered me to be able to sit with people in anxiety. And the people that sat with me, they went through the same thing. To experience sinfulness that I struggled with for years and years and years, whatever that might be, your thing, God will take them and turn them into your strongest ministry. Will turn them into the angle in which you're able to speak life. I love John. I think John Foreman says that it's the way that the wound is where the light shines through. It's one of his song lyrics that he says in one of their songs. The wound is where the light shines through. Certainly that's been the case for me. Maybe that's been the case for you. Understand that if you're in it right now, if you are broken right now, if you are suffering right now, if you are asking, why would God give me this? What am I supposed to do with this? Understand that he can and will absolutely take that part of you, grow beautiful things from it, and bring life to you and other people with it. Amen? Have you experienced that in your life? If you are going through something, who better to talk to than someone who has gone through it? Right? Don't waste those opportunities. Don't wallow. Don't roll around in your own pity. It's okay to mourn. It's okay to do all those things. Yes. But at some point, God's going to say, let's go fishing. Let's go walk out there. Let's make it happen. What have you done with it? And at the end of your life, if God's going to look at you and say, all right, I gave you this. What have you done with it? What's your answer going to be? And that's not saying you need to go be legalistic and like my salvation is based in, no, it's grace alone. Absolutely. We're saved by God's grace because none of us can use it perfectly. However, your fruitfulness in life depends upon your willingness to sacrifice and to obey God in the things that he's given you. Your fruitfulness certainly is at stake. Do you want to be fruitful or do you want to be somebody who's not bearing fruit? Okay, let's see. Oh, I think, this part here. So to receive, let me see if I can read it here. To receive even suffering, right, or whatever it might be, this and to do nothing with it, or even to receive a gift, to receive a talent, let's say a year's salary, and to do nothing with it. I'm going to compare it to this. It's like receiving a beautiful cup of coffee and returning it without a sip. Very strange, right? Being given a wonderful thing to drink and then being like, thank you for this so much. Here it is exactly how you gave it to me. What kind of response? If you did that for somebody, what kind of response would you be like, no, that was meant to be enjoyed and to be fruitful from that and go tell people how good it was and like have some fruit from that. It's like, okay, this is what I was craving when I was writing the sermon, but here we go. Jersey Mike's. It's like being given a beautiful, wonderful sandwich when you're hungry and wrapping it up and burying it in the ground. You're not being fruitful with a gift that's being given to you. You're not sharing that. You're not doing anything with it. This is one I really like, though. It's like being an artist. If you're talented with art or anything like that or music, but it's like being given a blank canvas with all the paint that you would ever need and then framing an empty page and putting it on the wall. It's like, oh, yeah, I was fruitful with the opportunities and the skills and the things that I had. I really used the talent that was given to me. No, of course not. It's like giving up, having a heartbreak situation and to forever wallow without growing. You see how just unfulfilling that is, right? But man, to grow from a heartbreak, I love it. My sister used this comparison in a message one time, but the act of when in Japan they would have broken pottery and they would bind it back together where the breaks happened with gold. It's called kintsugi. Yeah. It's a wonderful Death Cab for Cutie album also. But yeah, it's called Kintsugi, which he had his heart broken. He wrote that album. It's really great, really. I love that kind of stuff. Anyways, okay, so the idea, though, that you have a heartbreak and that it can be brought back more beautiful in ways with stronger stuff than it was before. Do you believe that's possible? Or do you like to wallow in the broken vase version of it? And then lastly, it's like being given a family heirloom. It's like being given something really precious from your grandparent or your parent or your sister or brother or whatever. And then instead of like wearing it, like my grandmother gave all of us grandkids like little rings or something. And we had little rings and all the boys in the family had little rings. And I was always afraid to wear it. So I just put it in a drawer and hid it for like ever. And I actually don't know where it is right now. And it really kind of kills me. But it's like, because it was so precious, it was so held up, and it was so this talent, oh God, what are we going to do with it? I don't know what to do with this. Bury it. It's like, no, I think she would have liked if I wore it, right? Because then it would have shown something about, if I had something that came out, had that available for people to see, I could talk about it. It's like taking an heirloom and burying it in your closet somewhere. I'm just trying to illustrate a little bit for you guys. What is it like to take a wonderful gift, to take something worth showing, to take something that is meant to be enjoyed, meant to be fruitful, and doing nothing with it? There's so much, and to go and swing and fail, I think that's better than just not doing anything at all, by the way. You get a lot from failing. Learn to fail well. Failing well is really, really good. So 3 things I want us to consider, and then we're going to go into our groups. 3 things I want to consider tonight. So this is the question we ask. I'm going to read a little about this. So what have I been given and how am I using it? Do an honest inventory of God's gifts to you. If you think you have earned what you have and you only have yourself to thank, I encourage you to think again. Okay, understanding our brokenness and our need for God and how our life begins with thank you, that we come out as babies with nothing. And then we kind of grow into these adults. We think we build up everything ourselves. We think we have all these things, and we leave this earth in similar condition. It's foolish to think that we have only ourselves to thank for life. God has given you life. God has imbued you with importance, with value, with love, with forgiveness of your brokenness, access to eternal life. And for us to be smug and thinking that we deserve that, that we're entitled to that, is foolish. And you will be best in your life to begin with thank you, begin your prayers with gratitude, approach God as a loving Father who gives you these things, not just owes you these things. He does not owe you. He sacrificed for you his most precious, which was in Jesus, his Son. So you've been given that. You can complain about everything that's happened to you in life. You can have a list of victimhoods in your life. You have been given life and redemption in Christ. That empowers you to do many and all the things you need to do in this life. And then better yet, all of us have special abilities, skills, and stories that we get to use. We cannot afford to be blaming and victimizing ourselves. As Christians, we will miss out and we will be burying our stuff in the ground. Be fruitful with what's been given to you, and you will find a lot of satisfaction in that. And you'll have, at the end of your life, well done, my good and faithful servant. Understanding our brokenness is a part of this, because the best gift we have received is salvation. Then we have the gifts of our life and breath and future and abilities and the money and all the things that we may or may not have. How are you using it? Go there today with yourself. Don't even just hear me saying it. Go there with yourself. What have I been given? How am I using it? Number 2, we are called to work and to work hard. We are called to work and to work hard. This does not mean work for your salvation, but this means that your time matters. And I feel this. All of us should feel this, though, that doesn't mean you don't rest. That doesn't mean you don't take time for yourself. It doesn't mean you don't spend time with your family. It doesn't mean you have don't have time to enjoy pleasures in life and things like that. But you are called to work. We are fulfilled in work in a good way, not throwing ourselves at work and hating our lives because of work, doing all the kind of stuff. But again, not as a means of salvation, but as a faithful, so this is when it's good, to be faithful to your gifts. And also inspired by Jesus, that when we're filled, we want to pour out, and that often looks like good work. The initial mandate in Genesis from God is to go and be fruitful among the earth. And we are satisfied. You know a good day's work when you walk home in that and you're like, I did it, man. Time to sleep, but feel good. I'm going to earn. Like, what is vacation? What is Saturday if every day is Saturday? What is vacation if every week is vacation? Like, you want to earn those things. You are fulfilled in those things. Those will help with so much of the mental health stuff, to be able to work hard, to delay. This is the thing, though, to delay gratification as well. And we've been raised up, all of us here have been raised up with instant, pretty much anything we can. And this isn't me kvetching kind of towards modern society and technology. No, these are great things. But one of the things that we need to be careful for is always wanting to have instant gratification. Delay your gratification. That's what going to the gym is like. That's what waiting for marriage in your relationship is like. That's what walking with Jesus, trusting in the midst of suffering that he's going to be good in the end is like. That's what working for your paycheck is like, delaying these things. Picking up responsibility, giving generously requires delay in gratification. If everything's instant for you, you'll never give because there's no return on those things sometimes. It's just giving to give. And value the things of God and not of man. Not to squeeze out as much pleasure as we can before we die. Not hedonism, that's what that is. Eat, drink, and be merry, and then we die. For tomorrow we die. Living becomes far more about what God is up to than what we are up to. Living becomes far more about what God is up to than what we are up to. Remember that. And what God has called us to is to love the poor, the sick, share the gospel, have fellowship, and to use the gifts we've been given. All of us are responsible for that. You do not have to be in ministry to do everything I just mentioned. And again, you may not be the person on the street doing it or the person up here, but you are responsible for helping make that happen. All of us are. God gives us all different parts of the body to operate. So what's yours? How can we support each other in that? Then last one, don't wait for the later. And this is what I want to leave with you. The urgency of the gospel is right now. Not to preach gloom and doom, but we must be acquainted with our perishing bodies. Life is given to us, but can be taken so easily. How are we living it? The Shawshank Redemption line I always pull out, get busy living or get busy dying, right? Life is given to us but can be taken so easily. How are we living it? Are you planning on settling down in the future and taking God seriously when you're older and wiser? Stop. The urgency is now. Youthfulness is a gift. Life is a gift. Age and wisdom is a gift. Don't waste your gift. Don't waste your life thinking that you're cashing in on the good stuff while you can, and then it can be boring and love God when you're older. That's, guys, that sounds kind of silly when I say it. That's the mentality we take. That's certainly what I thought growing up was, I will sit through all this boring stuff until I'm older, and then I can live. And then when I'm older than that, I can come back and be boring. And we see church as just an obstacle to our joy and pleasure. And it's not. We see fellowship with each other as an obstacle, as a thing that will add on to our week if we have time that week. No. Your job should not freaking take priority over your spending time in the Word, your time in your life group, your time here at Harbor, at church, or whatever it might be. Your job needs to take a back seat to that. And if they don't get that, then something's got to change. I'm being urgent with you guys. That's how it needs to be. There's no substitute for spending time with God in your life. There is no substitute for spending time with God in your life. Does the Word captivate your heart? Does worship captivate your heart? Does Christian fellowship captivate your heart? It is not an add-on. The urgency is now. Do it now. The rest of your life will benefit from it. Push it off now and you will suffer and the fruitfulness will not happen and you will have wasted that time. We're going there. I don't care. Don't waste your life. I don't want you to waste your life. I don't want to waste my life. It's not that you're going to be perfect. It's not that you're going to use everything perfectly, but you need to start framing your mindset to not wait for later. It's now. Build your life on the rock. We talked about this, the wise and foolish builder, and the rest of your life will profit. Sow the seeds and use the talents now, and God will reward you with more, with fruit and with life. And at the end of our lives, the best thing we can hear is, well done, my good and faithful servant. And the worst is, I never even knew you. Throw him out where there's weeping and gnashing of teeth. And that's how Jesus kind of always describes hell, by the way. It's interesting, where there's weeping and gnashing of teeth, right? It's kind of strange, but we want to take Jesus at his word. Am I making sense to you guys tonight? Because there's a reason we're here at Harbor. There's a reason we're doing this. There's a reason we're taking life seriously. We're trying to not be people that wait for later. What you understand in the gospel now, the work that you do in Bible study, the work that you do in your personal devotion, it will make you, every step of the way, it's going to enhance your life. If you're single, it will make you better at being married. If you're married, it will make you better at being a parent. If you're older, if you've been through suffering, whatever that might, it will make you better at enduring those things and to be preaching and living and showing and sharing those things. But what we don't want is to waste it, to bury it and to hide it, and for our master, for Jesus to ask us at the end of our lives, what did you do with it? And we go, here it is, the same thing you gave me, man. It's like Good Will Hunting, right? What's the Good Will Hunting line? You guys know what I'm talking about. Well, he's a genius, right? What is it? Matt Damon? Yeah, he's a genius, and he's in Boston, and he's like loading docks, and he's like, he can go in there and do all the equations, and he solves all the stuff. And at one point, he's like, he can't be tamed, right? So he's like, has Robin Williams teaching him all this stuff, and he like tells him to screw off and leaves and goes and starts working at the docks again, and his buddy basically stops him, he's trying to be like the whole time, and he's running away from his calling. He's running away from being smart, going to school and all this. And he's like, I don't need to do that, man. It's all the game and everything. And his buddy stops him. He's like, if you're here in 20 years, I'm going to kill you. He tells him that. He's like, if you're here in 20 years, I'm going to kill you because you have been given something all the guys here would kill to have what you have. And you've been given it. So you better go do something with it because you represent us. This is kind of what he's saying, but that's the idea. It's this intensity, right? And again, this is an interesting movie, but the point is, the people in your life, you shouldn't be satisfied with, I've been given cool thing, I'm going to put it aside and do my thing and never use it. And I think you'll find the most joy in this life when you utilize all the gifts that God has given you. Have you ever been in a career where you felt like you weren't utilizing what God has given you? It can be very depressing. I remember I love music. I've been writing music all my life. I've played music all my life. And I ended up moving to Nashville and doing that. And right before I did that, I was working selling insurance. And I had done, again, I went to school for business, and there's nothing wrong with selling insurance. But for me, I kept on introducing myself as a guy that used to play music. And I just couldn't square that away. I was just like, I feel like there's more for me to do with this. And nowadays, I found myself in ministry these days. I love ministry. That's where my heart's at. Church planting, it's like, oh, there's actually a lot of business elements here. And then music, we get to do that every week. And it's just a joy of my life to get to do it. And God has blessed me with a job, let's say, that is, I get to do all the things I love to do. And I get to do it with the people I love to do it with. It's I feel like that has been a blessing to me. God will and can use the things that you love to do. Work doesn't have to be something you hate, by the way. It can be something you love to do and the one you want to pour into. Okay, so I could go on about that, but we'll do that in our discussion groups. A couple thoughts, and then we're done. Hebrews 12:11 says this, no discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Later on, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who have been trained by it. You got to be willing to endure the unpleasant and the painful for the endurance and the harvest that comes in the future. If you've ever gardened, I love Jesus uses planting analogies and things like that because it literally is, you cannot rush it. You have to plant, you have to tend, you have to take care, and you have to wait. And it happens. So many of you, I don't know if you can look back in your life and have seen seasons of that. let's go back here. John 15, 1 through 2. So Jesus saying, I am the true vine. Jesus saying this. And my Father is the gardener. He cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit, while every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes so that it will be even more fruitful. If you're not bearing fruit, it's not that you're going to be cut out of salvation, right? But certainly you're cutting short your usefulness. And if you are bearing fruit, you're still going to be pruned, which isn't a pleasant process too, but it will make you more fruitful. And then the last one, John 15, 8. This is Jesus. This is to my Father's glory that you bear much fruit, showing yourselves to be my disciples. It is when you bear fruit that you show you are a Christian. And if you are, I believe in God, but you don't actually, you're not living like you believe. That's trouble, man. You show yourself, so you don't earn your salvation with your works, but certainly your works show that inward situation has happened, that decision has happened. You show yourself to be his disciples. Spurgeon says it this way. It is not humility to underrate yourself. Humility is to think of yourself as God thinks of you. Whoa. It is to feel that if we have talents, God has given them to us. That's humility. And let it be seen that, like freight in a vessel, they tend to sink us low. The more we have, the lower we ought to lie. So it's not humility to sell yourself short, right? It's humility to think of yourself as God thinks of you. And it's to feel that we have talent. So if you have talent, it's that God's given them to you. And let it be seen that your talent should humble you, that you don't need to lead with them, all of that. The more we have, the lower we ought to lie. And then the last one, John Piper. One of the great uses of Twitter and Facebook will be to prove at the last day that prayerlessness was not from lack of time. Yeah. Anybody, right? Okay. So when it comes to doing this and owing that to God and spending time with God and being fruitful in that. And then I forgot, this is the last one here. That's him. That's our guy. It's John Piper. This is what he says. What is sin? It is the glory of God not honored, the holiness of God not reverenced, the greatness of God not admired, the power of God not praised, the truth of God not sought, the wisdom of God not esteemed, the beauty of God not treasured, the goodness of God not savored, the faithfulness of God not trusted, the commandments of God not obeyed, the justice of God not respected, the wrath of God not feared, the grace of God not cherished, the presence of God not prized, and the person of God not loved. That is sin.